Welcome, everyone. I could not be more excited to be here with all of you today. We have an incredible panel coming up right here on the innovation stage. And I want you to tell me, though, first in the chat, where are you calling in from? Where do you work? Who are you? Say hello. Oh, it sounds like I'm muted. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Stage is muted. Okay. Can people tell me? Okay, thank you, Carly. Okay, you can hear me. Okay, wonderful. Karen, Jill, here we go. All right, thank you all so much. So we have an incredible panel coming up here, but before we jump into that, I wanted to give a little shout out to one of our sponsors, the Human Stack, because Tim Lockie will be on this panel. The Human Stack transforms how organizations harness AI through rapid enablement. So Tim Lockie bridges the gap between human potential and technology, creating systems that enhance teams rather than replace them. His expert approach turns AI fear into focused action. Who does not need that? By unlocking leaders, upskilling teams, and upgrading technology. This delivers immediate value while preparing you for what's next. So that is a little bit about Tim. This session is called Culture First, Unlocking AI's Potential Through Leadership, Not Just Tools. It is being facilitated by the amazing Sean Olds and joined by Tim Lockie, Courtney Bugler, and Kevin Sansberry. And I am trying to move my slides and introduce all these amazing humans as much as possible. So first, I'm going to introduce you to our panel moderator, Sean Olds, to kick off this session. Sean is the co-founder and founding CEO of Boodle AI, a venture-backed company that launched both a traditional AI platform and a generative AI tool, raising $9 million and scaling from pre-product to commercialization. He has led technology deployments in 14 countries and held executive board and advisory roles across private enterprise, government, nonprofits, and higher education. I do not know how you have time for all the things that you do, Sean, but you do it all. And in 2024, Sean was inducted into the American Society for Artificial Intelligence and currently serves on 8 nonprofit boards, including Zero Prostate Cancer, advising on technology and AI strategy. A former U.S. Army officer, he holds computer science degrees from West Point, an MBA from Kellogg, and a JD from Northwestern Pritzker School of Law. I'm having some major imposter syndrome, but Sean, please come up here. And I'm so excited to have you take this panel away and get to introduce the rest of the crew.
Mallory, thank you so much. So excited to be here, and I know the rest of the panel is as well. You've given my background, so very quickly, I'll just introduce why we're focused on culture today. I had the good fortune last week of speaking to a group of CEOs. I'm doing the same thing tomorrow. And nonprofits, for-profits, I always say the same thing. AI adoption is 10% about AI. It's 90% about culture. And some of you may have seen some of the reports that have come out from McKinsey, MIT, where companies are putting a lot of time and money into trying to drive AI adoption in their organizations, and they're failing. MIT said that less than 5% of companies are seeing success. And that's largely true in the nonprofit space too, as well. The ones that are seeing success, though, it's because of the leadership and the culture that exist. And so today, we have some great panelists who are really going to be able to drive that home from personal experience that they can share with you and provide insights. And so with that, we'll kick off with some quick introductions of the panel, and then we'll start asking questions. So Courtney.
Hi, everyone. I'm Courtney Bugler. I am a longtime fundraiser turned CEO, and I am the CEO at Zero Prostate Cancer, which is the nation's #1 producer of resources and support and services for those affected by the disease. It's great to be here.
Hey, I'm Dr. Kevin Sansberry.
Go ahead,
Applied
Kevin.
innovation scientist. I work in various industries such as professional sports, nonprofit, higher ed, municipalities, and most of the work that I do nowadays is focused on culture change and various transformations that are occurring around the country. And happy to be here.
Thanks, Kevin.
And
Tim?
I'm Tim Lockie, calling in from Bozeman, Montana. I've worked with nonprofits for over 30 years, with tech for over 20, and run my own consulting and advising firm for the last 15 years. The one thing I can say, I'm so excited to be on a panel talking with leaders who know this is about humans and tech. And so really excited to be here.
And I have to compliment all of you. You've got the cool backgrounds. I'm stuck in a hotel room, so I've got the bland background. But with that, we'll kick in. I'm going to start with a question across the panel to begin with. We've got some individual questions for each of you, but one of the things I know all of you, I've talked to you about this before, you've experienced, is if you don't have the discussions around ethics and responsibilities, a lot of people just tune out. And that's not a nonprofit thing, by the way. I run into the same thing as I talk to for-profit corporations as well. So I want to start with ethics and responsibility. AI obviously is raising a lot of tough ethical questions right now. Could each of you share how you see leaders setting cultural guardrails so that innovation does not come at the expense of transparency, equity, and trust? Courtney, can we kick off with you?
Sure. I'll start with I'm just of the nature that you can't let perfect be the enemy of good. So there are some pitfalls, and obviously we're going to talk about them more today. But from a leadership perspective, you cannot be paralyzed by all the things that could go wrong in order to move the organization forward. And I do think that's a mindset. That is an entrepreneurial mindset. It's a spirit. And there are certainly things that we're discovering. But I think the big thing is if you're transparent in your use, if people know what is happening. In fact, there was just a study done that of a small sample size, though, but it said that some people are now using AI and ChatGPT more than Google to search. So even in the last 6 months, people have become so much more comfortable with it that I think that the answer is if you are transparent in how you are actually using it and you're very clear that you see the benefits, that gets you already over that first hurdle, which is the fear. Oh my God, it won't be perfect. It won't go wrong. Well, if you're really transparent, and in this day and age, everybody kind of is seeing how AI is being used, people will give you a little bit of leeway. Not to say that you don't need good governance and policies and things, but you can't let that stifle you from even getting started. And I think that's one of the things that we're going to talk about is how, even at Zero about 18 months ago, when we were sort of a gleam in Sean's eye, we just dove right in and we figured it out as we went along. And I think there's also a big difference between how you're using it internally and how you might be using it externally with constituents or donors. But for us, the first step is just to dive in internally where you got a little less risk.
That's great, Courtney. And it resonates well. I think it's been 18 months since I've done a Google search. I still use Gmail, still use Google Maps. It's great, but the Google searching is gone. But I've loved watching how you have really led that dive too. And I think one of the important things, though, and where you've been successful is you've set the tone for the organization, and that's very important. Kevin, can you share your thoughts?
Yeah. I'll add to a little bit of what Courtney talked about related to transparency. Did some work in Silicon Valley over the last 3 years, and one of the big pieces that we did to take that transparency and make it actionable is co-creation of the values and principles around utilization, ethics, and things like that. And what that did was, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, but what that did was on the forefront of everybody's mind were, the negatives of AI, or we're going to get, outsourced or whatever it might be. My job's going away. And what that did from an innovation standpoint, if I'm walking into it in a negative way, I'm gonna tend to see all the wrongs, right? Because that's a protective thing. And what we wanted to do is we wanted people to see the possibilities. And so in order to get them to the possibilities, you got to have them there up front, co-creating kind of those guardrails with you. And so I've seen organizations who've done that well, and I've also worked with ones who have not. And the biggest difference is that connection up front. And so in order to make it not an us versus them people treat it like the Terminator, oh, they're taking over. No, don't make it that way. Treat it as this is just like putting a calculator in your pocket back in the day. It's a tool that's going to help you do good things. And so you put people on the forefront.
I love that, Kevin. And that co-creation is so important because it spurs the rest of the organization to adopt the same and start to learn more and more quickly. And it's, I think, the big difference of generative AI versus almost any other technology that the nonprofit community has had access to before. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I will first echo everything that Courtney and Kevin are saying. And I might just add that it's also really important to identify that this is a stewardship issue as well. And so unless you have a trade-off, until you've identified what problem were you trying to solve with this, and then can say, is this is just another tool at our disposal, and we are ethically bound to use every tool we can to accomplish our mission. And I think AI in that view becomes less of a boogeyman and more of another tool that we can be wise about how we use. And as it develops, the trade-offs start to appear um, more clear. I think Courtney has a really clear line of sight on that for her organization in a way that some leaders don't. And so that might be an early adopter, but I think there's still an important piece of this that is looking at the way that we're bound to our mission and creating as much impact as we can with every available resource.
And Tim, I think that's key is as people see the impact that gets created and the benefit it has, it starts to build for the people not using it yet a fear of missing out. And for the people that are using it, an inspiration that, hey, this is the right thing. And to Courtney's earlier point, I may need to adjust as I move forward and understand the technology better, but I see the benefit that it's bringing towards our mission. So that's great. Kevin, I want to delve in because you have done a great deal of research over the years, and you've really looked at how leadership behaviors will shape organizational outcomes. What are the risks that you see if leaders rush to adopt AI without addressing kind of the underlying cultural issues?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, one of the biggest flaws or I guess negative pieces that I see as it relates to like adoption of any kind of technology or advancement is we treat people like technology, and so we assume people change when in reality people transition. And so adopting that as a leader is saying, how am I going to position myself as the steward of transition management? And so what that means is taking into account, that those emotional barriers and stuff like that. And I got to be honest, not every company is going to be an early adopter, because if they were, you wouldn't have the title of an early adopter. It wouldn't exist. And so with that being said, that leader that's just trying to rush to be the early adapter has to understand that that emotional contagion travels downward, and that's not necessarily a good thing. If you're fine but everybody else is fearful, you're not going to get the results that you intended. And so I think what I've seen related to rushing is you're going to get an over reliance or a lack of accountability up front if we're not setting those guardrails in place. And so you're going to have people potentially not even using the AI optimally. They're going to be using it to like do their shortcuts in their jobs, but not using it to increase value of the business. So then it's like, oh wow, okay. The whole point of innovation is to increase the value of the business. And so we want to make sure that our folks are like, in a way, they're in that space to be creative for the betterment of the organization, and not necessarily just saying, check the box, I used AI today. And so the risks of rushing, you might act like we have AI adoption over everywhere, but it's really fragmented, and that's not what we want.
The analogy I use with when I talk to CEOs about adopting is one of the most dangerous leaders you can have is the leader who's got a hammer in his hand and everything is a nail.
Mm, mm.
So really appreciate that view, Kevin.
And
Courtney,
I'll say one
yeah,
last thing
please.
with that. So part of the thing that makes humans different than other animals is our ability to dream and think differently in groups. And as a leader, if you're not using that to your advantage and talking and telling people how AI is going to scale humanity and not replace humanity, that's a different framing. And so I think like using it to scale the human condition is where we need to frame it. So yeah.
No, Kevin, I'm glad you added that in because when I started in the nonprofit space 10 years ago with AI, a lot of the leaders I would talk to, you could tell were picturing a steelhead with the red eyes coming at them. Generative
Mhm.
AI has made that a little bit easier, but I've always touted that the most powerful AI team is the human machine team. That neither separated is going to be as powerful as the two working together. So I appreciate you
Mhm.
adding that in.
Yeah.
Courtney, I want to talk a little bit about your experience since you've been at Zero. You have brought in, successfully led a large scale change management initiative at Zero. I'm wondering if you could share some of the lessons that you've learned in building that AI driven culture, and how leaders on this call can ensure that AI supports and not distracts from the mission.
Sure. And to Kevin's point, I really do think I fundamentally believe that AI isn't here to replace us. AI, especially in nonprofits, is here to take all the things that we say that we don't have time to do and that we're always so behind on. And it finally gives us an opportunity with, the same limited resources, time, money, human capital that we always have, to actually accomplish some of the things that are on our to-do list that we've had forever and ever. So a couple of things on the plus side, right? I really do think that when you normalize AI use in the organization, you open it up, because you've still got that sort of, think about it. If you've got marketing communications people, like they will see like AI is cheating, right? Or if you've got program curriculum people, it's cheating, or it can't possibly be as good as this. So I'm really transparent when I use AI all the time. So if you were to ask my team, they would tell you not every couple of days, I'm like, by the way, I used AI for this, and look at how amazing it was. I tell that to my board. Sean is on our board. Sean actually did a whole session, a learning session on AI with our board. By the way, that's also a learning, I would say, is if you start at your board level and you get them excited about it. We had doctors on our board who were talking about how they could use it for grants. Somebody was talking about their travel plans. They got excited about it. And then occasionally I just drop a bomb in a board meeting and be like, and by the way, this entire exercise was written by AI. And I do it with pride, because what it says is I am smart enough to use my time. I am the highest paid employee at my organization. My time costs money. And yes, I could spend 3 hours trying to figure out the best exercise for a board meeting, or I could spend 20 minutes, ta-da, done. And so the biggest thing that I could say is that as at a leadership level, especially, is you normalize its use. You talk about the different tools you're using. We were just sitting here talking about how I was using a product earlier, actually for a presentation for another conference that I'm speaking at, because I could have spent 4 days on a presentation, or I could do it in an hour. And so I think that's the biggest thing is get your board excited, but also as leaders, talk about how you use it all the time. And that starts to make it normalized. Then all of a sudden you hear from other staff, oh, well, I didn't realize I could use it for this. We just got one of our largest gifts in US history for prostate cancer. And I tell anybody who will listen, oh, by the way, that 30-page proposal and the logic models and the this and the that, we used AI for half of it. We didn't use it for everything, but we're very transparent where we use it, and we normalize its use, because I still think that there's sort of this stigma that somehow we should hide in the shadows of its use, because that goes into that's a whole nother topic about like hustle culture and how it's nonprofits, the harder we work and the more, desperately overworked we are, somehow we might be more valuable. No, you're more valuable when you can be more effective in less time. And so to Sean's point, when he first came to Zero 18 months ago, and he says, AI is not coming for your job, but people who use AI will be. And because they're just going to be able to accomplish a lot more. So those are kind of some of the ways that we lead with transparency in its use. I think the pitfalls, I'll just say from a cultural change, I would say that you're never going to fully drive it if you don't have evangelists inside the organization. So if you get those people who are adopters, they will spread the word for you. And those people need to be all throughout the entire organization. I will also say occasionally some people just need to be locked in a room and forced to do it. So we sometimes, if we want people to adopt stuff, we do mandatory trainings to do it. And then from the very top, I say, great, I expect to see how you've used AI in X, Y, and Z. Because people will do what they're being mandated to do sometimes. So a combination of those both are usually the most successful, at least what we found at Zero.
And Courtney, that's being done. I mean, the corollary in the private sector, I have seen CEOs, nonprofits can't do this, obviously, but I have seen CEOs who understand what it's going to drive in terms of cutting cost or increasing revenue, and have actually put bonus pools together for people who demonstrate on a quarterly basis that they're using it, because they can do a direct, it's a math problem on, I can spend this much, and if I get 10x, it's worth it. So that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing it. And of course, what I really enjoyed was the less time you spend on a presentation, the less time you spend on writing a paper is more time you're spending with your constituents, right? And having more human time rather than computer time.
Yep.
So that's great. Tim, I'd like to jump over and get some of your insights. You deal with a lot of organizations that you're working with. What do you see as a single most important mindset shift that leaders must make in order to ensure AI strengthens rather than undermines human capacity in a mission-driven organization?
I think we're bringing over the habits and behaviors and mindset that we had with cloud services, and we're just laying them on top of what we are doing with AI right now, which makes sense. It's understandable that we would do that. But one of the mindsets, one of the issues that has plagued the nonprofit space for a really long time is lack of accountability on how we use systems. So I would yield my time to Courtney to just keep going, because the mindset shift that we need to see is exactly what Courtney is talking about and demonstrating. And what I mean by that is that accountability is power plus attention. When leaders pay attention to something, everybody else in the organization also pays attention to that. And with CRMs especially, which I spent so much time implementing for organizations, what I saw over and over was, in the for-profit sector, if you don't use a CRM, you get a new job. In the nonprofit sector, if you don't use a CRM, you get a new one every 18 months. We did not lock people in the room like Courtney's talking about and say, this is what we're using. And if you don't use it, then we can't use it upstream. That level of accountability was much harder with the CRM than it is with generative AI. And we get to focus on positive-based accountability, which I think is just really critical. And Courtney's opening line is, I show people what I'm doing. I act excited about it. I celebrate when they do it. That is what you do with everybody that's comfortable, engaged, and resilient with AI. With reluctant users, there's free training. With resistant users, there's a room with a lock. And I want to say that is such an appropriate way of looking at the spectrum of how people are approaching that. And so I would just say, approaching this with a mentality that this is a direction that we need to go, and offering that in empathy as much as possible, I think is really important. So I want to be really clear, though. When I say accountability, I don't mean police state. I mean rewarding and recognizing good behavior whenever possible, and using that as a first response.
I mean, I'll say we do that at Zero. We have a system called Bonusly. We're an all virtual organization, so it's like virtual recognition. Here's your Bonusly points. People turn it in. And when somebody does something really great, like my COO does a financial analysis with AI, I give him Bonusly points. I was like, way to lead by example. Like, why spend a week doing that when you can have the robots do it for you?
That's awesome. Thanks, Courtney.
Amazing. Perfect.
Kevin, I know you've done a lot of research in leadership, and I know some of that has been around toxic leadership. And toxic leadership can definitely derail any strategy that an organization's trying to implement. What are the signs you would recommend that either boards or executives look for to know if their leadership culture is ready for AI adoption?
Yeah. Oh, well, long story short on this one. But, one of the things that I think is really important is AI adoption is the focal construct here. But I would, as a board, would look at how we've adopted anything really, because how we adopt one thing, we adopt all things. And you have to really look at like the organization's personality. What is that organization's personality? A lot of nonprofits have a very, Courtney was going to go into that hustler culture. If you look up this concept and this construct called hurry sickness, look up hurry sickness. You're going to learn a lot about nonprofit culture, because you're going to be like, ooh, I work there. Everything's a priority. Nonprofit culture. Right? Perfectionism is kind of like the leading flag we put in the ground. Nonprofit culture. I want to look busy to feel important. Nonprofit culture. I'm gonna make AI look less important so I don't use it, so my job doesn't come into jeopardy. Nonprofit culture. And so there's a lot of hiding that exists as it relates to what a culture is. And so those the cultures that aren't ready, I can't even say aren't ready for AI adoption. I would just say they're not optimized for sustainable AI adoption are the ones who are in hide mode. They're hiding. They want to look important. They want to look busy. They want to look productive. They want to look competent. Trying to look away is that's a problem. Actually just doing it, that's living it, right? Another thing I'll talk about is we hit on this a little bit, is that whole mindset versus behavior. One of the things to think about is I'm not waiting for your mindset to shift to go to adoption. We can implement behavior change in tools. Locking the door, I guess, is a good way to do it. Like, do the thing. Think about it like this. Before I started running, right? I didn't look in the mirror and say, you know what, Kevin, you're a runner now. Yes, you are. That didn't work. You know what I did? I lowered the barriers to entry to running. I put my shoes right next to my bed. I put my running stuff right next to my bed. And I got out there and started running. I hate it, but I started doing it. So I didn't become a runner by believing I could be a runner. I became a runner by doing it. And by therefore doing it, I then believed I could do it because I already got proof I did it. So with that being said, we need to create behavior change immediately. Not stop waiting for mindsets. There's so many YouTube videos and other things on AI is safe and the ethic. Like, stop doing that. Create the behavior change, because people will then look at their own past and say, oh, well, I did do that AI thing. Oh, that AI tool did help me complete that presentation. That did save me time. They're going to see the proof in themselves. And my last principle as it relates to AI adoption is when it relates to behavior, it's really important for boards to build that relationship with their leadership teams so that the leadership team is not hiding too. And so you don't want the leadership team hiding from the board with all those same kind of culture. And so I think like authentic relationship at that level is really important as well.
Kevin, the only thing you messed up on that answer is you let Courtney know you run now. So the next run walk she's going to be pulling you into.
I only run if I'm being chased by like a bear or something. So don't worry, I'll be okay.
All right.
Courtney, you've talked about the locking of the door. Based on what Kevin said about toxic culture, what else have you seen, and how do you see ways to overcome it?
I mean, I certainly think to that point, the sort of if I just always look busy, then it's like I am effective. And I think at an organization that certainly happens. I've come into organizations and I'm like, I'm not quite sure what this person's doing here. Like, I don't know what they're doing with all their time, but they're always really busy. And, if you dig into that for various reasons with both performers and non-performers, what you see is sometimes like, well, if I'm always really busy, then I must be essential. So if all of a sudden I have free time to do something, then maybe that shows that I'll be voluntold into things, or it just means that I won't feel like I am essential, or the organization might not see me as essential. And I think that this is where I will say, good technology adoption, it's got to come top down. It's, and then sort of it meets the grassroots, right? And they meet in the middle. But I do think that's where at a leadership level, you really need to encourage. And by the way, I'm going to say leadership across the entire organization, because you can be a director level and still have leadership. You have leadership over your own team. You have leadership over your own peers. It's slightly more difficult to do it sort of org wide. But I think if you know that you have a leader in your organization, if you're not that main one or you're not the executive leadership, and you know that they're involved in it, I think the biggest thing is to get them to be more vocal about how it helps them and how they find it as just a sign of working smarter, not harder. You know, we hear about working smarter, not harder all the time in nonprofits. And we finally have a tool to help us do that. And so I think it's really got to be people being really vocal about how they use it and their use cases, because that's the other thing too is people will stumble upon how we do it. I mean, every time I talk to Sean, he's got a new use case of how he's using AI, and I learn every time I talk. And so I do think, you know, whether it's building in structure where we actually sometimes in some of our meetings, we have people, we open it up and we talk about, hey, how did you use AI this week? And we learn about, oh my God, I didn't even realize that could help me do this analysis. Or I was just talking to my executive leadership team that we're working on a white paper about a merger we were a part of. And I was like, oh my God, I just dumped in a bunch of files and I said, write my white paper. I mean, is it perfect? No, of course there's some things, but is it also, you know, the first 20 pages completely drafted, cited? There you go. And so I think that sharing how people are using it on a regular basis, we use Slack internally as an organization. And so we're actually just about to launch a Slack channel where we're talking about like AI use cases where people are just sharing how they're doing it. Because that's, you know, oh my God, I didn't even realize, or, oh, I had no idea this other tool exists. Shout out to Boodle. We use Boodle all the time, but there are other things outside of Boodle that we also use. And the more people talk about it, the better off you'll be.
You know, Courtney, couldn't agree more. It's that, well, it's the co-creation that I think Kevin brought up earlier is people being able to see what others are doing, being able to learn from each other. I really like the point you made of the if you do run into resistance, there's a need to show people how it's going to help them, because once they realize how it helps them, they're much more prone to want to use it and figure it out, and to start to connect the dots on where in their daily workflow it feeds in and helps. Tim, you obviously focus everything you do on culture. Given how important this topic is, I'd love to get your viewpoint on toxic culture. Is there anything else that you would add to what Kevin and Courtney have said?
I like that Kevin is bringing up hiding. I think this is something we don't think about enough. It is leaders' jobs to create psychological safety to fail, not just to succeed. But unless people feel like it's okay to fail, they're not going to feel like it's okay to innovate, to experiment, to try new things. And that includes time. So I love what Courtney's talking about. We need to carve out some work smarter time. That is going to include some failure. What I found is that cultures that increase accountability with psychological safety hit this learning zone where they can adapt and learn and pivot quickly. And I cannot emphasize this enough. The speed at which tech is about to start moving is mind-blowing. I don't have words for it. We are in an exponential upward trend with a limiting, like those calculus models where things just go straight up. That is the era that we are entering. It is not fast yet. It is about to become very fast. That's going to be a constant from now on. Tech will always move really quickly. And there is no ability to control how fast tech is going to move. What leaders do have control over is how fast their team can manage, consume, and accomplish change as a group. That's why I don't talk about the human. I talk about the human stack, because it is our ability to work together that is going to make the difference. And so that's the first thing. The second thing I'll say is, up until now, we've used management as the model. From now on, and management's kind of like a map. What were we doing? Where are we going? What's our 3-year plan? I don't think 3-year plans are going to work the same way anymore. I think we're going to have to iterate quickly, more like a GPS, where We are doing smaller trips with destinations and real-time routing because we have the tools and the insight and intelligence to make those decisions in a new way. And teams that are able to pivot quickly are going to win. And that's a very different model than management. That's an emergence model that we've never had the kind of information and intelligence to operate that way as a society, and we're about to have those tools. So I think that's going to be very interesting. But bottom line, your ability to change rapidly and keep change saturation low is going to be, organizations who win will be those types of organizations.
And I'm just
Tim,
gonna just real quick, just a quick plug, as you were saying that we were talking about just embarking on a strategic plan, and it's a 3-year plan. But in reality, what we're really doing is just developing decision models for how we make decisions every year.
Yes.
And we have like a vision where we want to be, but it's more how do we define how we're going to have to make decisions and change, less so than are these the 8 metrics that we want to hit over the next 3 years.
Love it.
And I just really love your point on setting up a culture where you allow for and accept failure. Literally, I have one slide I share with organizations, and the last bullet on it is create a culture of innovation. And the only way you can create that culture is if you drive towards failure, right? Because people need to test it, they need to try it out, they need to find out it doesn't work, but fail fast and move on to the next thing. But if people are scared that failure is going to lead to their job loss, they're going to be too timid to try it or adopt it. So I love that.
And unless the CEO or top person in the organization is modeling that, it can't really happen.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
I'm going to shift a little bit. Courtney, a lot of people in the nonprofit community have expressed concern as AI has proliferated, that it's going to depersonalize donor and or patient relationships, in your case, dealing with prostate cancer. How can leadership set the tone so that AI strengthens rather than weakens authentic connections?
So I'll give a quick use case, right? And I actually, I shared it with my board recently. I lost a very dear friend of mine to cancer. And I was her medical person. I was actually made her medical power of attorney. I was walking alongside her. And I started in that process, and I actually opened up ChatGPT because I actually wanted to test it, right? I wanted to test some things. And I kind of asked a couple of things, and I prompted a couple of things that I would already know. But I was like, hey, let me start with some loaded prompt, which literally started with is this the beginning of the end? And that translated into what ended up being a 6-week-long chat between me and ChatGPT, where I tell you that it helped organize my thoughts. It helped me be stronger. Occasionally, of course, it was very empathetic to what I was going through. It helped me with questions. It helped me feel prepared. As a person who has done that personally, that tool helped me be more human with my friend. It helped me prep conversations with other people. And the reason that I start with that individual story, first of all, is, again, I think it's important that as leaders, we show the use cases of how it helps. But one of the things I did is I sent it to my mission team. We're actually working on an AI tool for patients right now. And I sent it to my board. And I said, I want to show you an example, a real life example of how this tool helped me be more human with my dear friend. And if we can apply that so people are more empowered, they feel more capable, they feel stronger, they feel supported, then this will only help our individual connections be stronger as long as we teach people how to use it. But they're already starting to do it anyway. So that's the other thing. Organizations, like, if you're not in front of it, they're just going to use it willy-nilly. So if you can't give them the guardrails, and even if it means if it's not quite perfect or ready for prime time, if you don't do it, they're just going to start using it themselves. And then they're going to get so used to using it in the way that you haven't sort of shown them that then you'll lose them forever. But it goes back to, how do we show to our teams and our constituents I actually sent it to a couple of my support group leaders who sit on my board, who are the most, this has, how can you get rid of the human connection? How can you do that? And the answer is, I had a support group leader come back to me and go, oh my God, like I would be so much better as a support group leader if I started to use this in this way. And it just had never occurred to them. And so again, I think that's where showing people that you're working with, and especially on your mission side, I think fundraising is probably a little bit, because they're so desperate to manage their portfolios that they're probably a little bit faster to jump on that stuff. And you've always had sort of segmentation in fundraising, and increasingly higher touch stuff. It's the mission side that is often kind of the most reticent. And I think that there are ways for us to show how it actually it can add to our individual humanity by making us feel stronger and more supported.
That is great. I appreciate that, Courtney. And it's really what you've shown is that the technology can empower humans. And that's what we've all seen. And it empowered you to be more human and can empower all organizations to be a little bit more human. So I appreciate that. Am I correct? We've got about 3 more minutes left. Is that right? Then I'm going to jump to kind of a closing question for everyone. If you could leave this group that's assembled here with kind of one thought that would push them forward as they move on with their organizations, what would that be? Courtney, I'll kick off with you.
Oh man. I think, mine is just sort of a summary of use it as much as you can and shout from the rooftops when you're using it. Be really transparent and encourage the people that you're working with in your team to be transparent and build that transparency into what you're doing, whether it's into meetings or communications or things, because that is what will help people feel more comfortable with it. And you'll all get better together by doing it that way.
Thanks, Courtney. Kevin?
Yeah. Very underneath all of this, if you spend a lot of time in the United States culture, like many people who were born here, you have been indoctrinated into a very I-focused mentality. And what that does is it exacerbates a lot of the stuff we just talked about, of hiding and protection and defending. And I think one of the biggest antidotes that we need to continue to look for is, how do we think about the we? How do we work in we? How do we, to be honest, start looking at performance appraisals collectively, team success collectively, organizational success collectively, versus people jumping ahead of people and people fearful. I think more work together, more we focused work is going to make AI adoption easy, because we're going to be thinking about the outcome variables, which have nothing to do with, oh, was I smart enough to create this, or did I have to use AI? That's the individual thing. All that, you're protecting your ego. And so I think a lot of the focus and a lot of the fixes, that we've talked today is really the undercurrent of a very individualized kind of mentality. And so if I, am leading implementations or a CEO in nonprofits, my best advice is continue to work as a collective, continue to talk as collective, and measure performance as a collective, so people don't feel like they have to hide.
That's great, Kevin. Thank you. Tim?
Typical ADD person, I have 23 things to say in my one thing, but I'm going to offer my perspective on professional services related to this. And I will tell you, do not hire any professional services firm that cannot give you clear metrics on transformation and how you'll know that this is happening in your organization, because professional services have a bad habit of being the least accountable party in all of this work. And it is time for professional services to step up and either say, all right, if we market transformation, we'll give you the metrics and we'll get measured on that, or we won't get rehired. And that is really, really critical. That if I could see one move that I think would move the needle in the industry, it would be for professional services to start taking accountability for the transformation that they market.
That's great, Tim. And I'm going to close with, I put a quote into the chat. It's from a woman named Dr. Fifi Lee. She is considered the godmother of AI. And she said back in 2018, so this was before ChatGPT, there's nothing artificial about AI. It is inspired by people, it is created by people, and most importantly, it impacts people. It's a powerful tool we are only beginning to understand, and that's a profound responsibility. And so I would leave that as we all, as leaders in the community, have a responsibility to figure out how this gets used. To the panelist point, we don't need to sit around and wait to figure that out. We can jump in and we can move forward as we use it. But we do have a responsibility. So with that, Kevin, Courtney, Tim, thank you so much for your insights. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for joining today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for letting us be here.
Thank you.
Great.
Wow, thank you guys so much. I love that ending note in terms of, we've been talking a lot today about what it looks like for nonprofits and fundraisers to be back in the driver's seat and thinking about the proactive way that we interact with AI and the choices that we have and the agency that we have. And so I love that kind of final note there. For everybody here, let us know what you thought of that session. Your feedback is so important to us. It's so important to these speakers and these panelists. So please use the QR code on your phone, unless you know how to use it on your computer, which still stumps me somehow. But let us know what you think. Give us your feedback. We want to hear from you. This is a lot of what guides our content, and our next steps comes from that. Also, this conversation is not over. We have a culture first post-session conversation and Q&A with Courtney. So head on over to the lounge if you are interested in continuing that conversation. I want to make sure that you know exactly where that goes. So if from the reception area, you'll see the lounge. I have too many slides to go between at the same time, but here's a little kind of description of it. You can explore with Courtney right now in the lounge to keep the discussion going with other session speakers and peers to explore how leadership, culture, and curiosity, not just the tools, unlock AI's true potential for nonprofits. So if you just click from the reception area, see lounge in the top navigation, and then you select your lounge, find the table with the lounge title and join. You can turn your camera on, your mic on, or you can leave it off and watch and just engage in the chat, whatever you want to do. And then I have a few announcements here, and then I'll tell you where to go next because we have so much good stuff coming on. So don't leave yet. Hear what's coming up next. So number one, just a reminder, you are getting the recordings, okay? As a Fundraising AI Summit attendee, you're getting exclusive access to all 63 session recordings. That means you do not have to worry about missing a session, or if you want to rewatch any sessions, you have access to the recordings so you can continue amplifying impact long after the event ends. This is so important to us and something that's been a critical part of the tools and resources that we've been making available from the very beginning. You can log into with your AirMeet credentials to watch replays immediately after the event ends, and then check back on the Fundraising AI Summit website in about 4 weeks for full access to everything. We want this for you to take what you need right now, given the challenges that you're facing, and then come back and be able to access these resources at any point. I also want to make sure that you know about the Amplify Kit. So as a Fundraising AI Global attendee, you've unlocked something really special. So this kit is packed with thousands of dollars in exclusive savings, templates, resources, all generously provided by our speakers and sponsors. Think of it as like your go-to toolkit to help you turn what you're learning into action so you can save time, work smarter, and amplify your impact long after the summit ends. You can access the Amplify Kit right now under the resources tab. And don't worry, we'll send it to your inbox too. We just want to make sure that you know it is there. And I would be remiss if I did not another opportunity. Ooh, that's my calendar telling us we have something coming up soon. But I would be remiss if I did not take this opportunity to thank our sponsors again. So I really want to take a moment and thank the incredible incredible community of sponsors who are leading the movement for responsible and beneficial AI in our sector. And I would actually love it if you gave them a little shout out emoji, celebration, GIF, whatever it's called, in the chat right now if you're hearing this, because truly, y'all, like, because of their support, this learning experience is completely free to attend, and our recordings, resources, and content are free to access year round. So make sure you are shouting out these folks, thank them for supporting FAI, and be sure to visit their sponsor booth located in the top navigation area to explore the tools, tech, and partnerships to help you adopt AI responsibly and take your fundraising efforts to the next level. Okay, before we break, I also want to just give another really huge thank you to our presenting sponsors, Giving Tuesday and Virtuous. They have really gone above and beyond. Giving Tuesday is the global movement inspiring generosity every day, everywhere, not just on Giving Tuesday. And Virtuous is the responsive fundraising platform helping nonprofits build meaningful supporter connections and grow impact with confidence. Their partnership with us, y'all, they really make all of this learning free for you. We're so grateful for their investment in helping you amplify your impact and for their alignment around the responsible and beneficial use of AI. And then I also want to give a shout out to one of our other sponsors. Spark AI is the fundraising AI platform purpose built for nonprofits. So it is a no code system which turns raw donor data into crystal clear predictions, empowering every fundraiser to raise more with less effort. With Spark, you can predict who will give, lapse, or upgrade, then act instantly with next best recommendations that plug into the tools you already use. Nonprofits using Spark see measurable impact, average revenue increases of like 20%, acquisition costs cut by 50%. These metrics are crazy, and campaigns optimized in days, not months. I don't know about you, but with end of year giving, that sounds real good to me. So as a thank you, the first 100 people to book a demo will receive a free $10 Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts gift card. Cheers to that. Better fundraising starts with better predictions. So see Spark AI in action. I think we're going to drop the link for you, or it's just spark.ai/demo. And I'm also going to take this moment to give another shout out to GoFundMe Pro. So GoFundMe Pro, designed to help organizations fundraise in any way they want, wherever they want. GoFundMe Pro unlocks new opportunities to inspire giving, reach broader audiences, and drive greater impact. Backed by $40 billion in giving since 2010, GoFundMe Pro is helping drive innovation in the sector with intelligent, AI-powered tools built from unmatched data and insights. You can learn more at pro.gofundme.com and request a demo today. And I think you're going to be directed to check out their particular intelligent asks. So I think we get to watch a quick video. Is that true? Take me off stage if so, but don't miss what I'm going to announce yet.
I'll have a vanilla latte, please.
All right, coming right up. Here you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Vanilla latte, please. Hi, can we get
Vanilla latte?
Thank you.
Just like how a good barista learns your coffee order, Intelligent Ask Amounts learns and predicts how much a donor wants to give. That way, you can make a personalized ask for each donor on your website.
Do you want to upgrade to a large today?
That'd be great.
Okay. All right. I'm back. I think you can see me now. I love that. And now we have a very, very exciting session. It is our midday keynote. It's almost 11 here in California, and everybody all over the world is coming in at different times. So our keynote session, AI at the Crossroads, Trust, Governance, and Human Impact. I know, given all of the information that I've been seeing in the chat, that this is top of mind to so many people. So I want to make sure you know we're actually closing the innovation stage and the impact stage during this keynote. So go up into your schedule, navigate over to the Amplify stage. That is where you will be able to join us for the keynote. Dr. Ruman Chowdhury and Nathan Chappelle are going to be leading that session. So again, just click on schedule in the upper right-hand corner. You'll see all of the sessions and lounges. You can join any session that is live, but I hope to see you on the Amplify stage for this keynote. And the innovation stage will be closed again during the duration of the keynote, but I'll see you back live on the innovation stage following the keynote in about 30 minutes. So thank you all so much. We have had an amazing day so far. There is so much goodness to come, and I will be watching over on the Amplify stage as well. See you over there.